Polish your piece. Masterpiece, then write a masterpiece. Deep breath and release. So all you need is depth, breath, and belief to polish your piece. Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome to Polish Your Piece.
Hey, what's good?
Hey, first off, this is our first Zoom joint.
Oh, and I'm excited about it. This looks pretty cool. I like the feel.
My goodness. So
Rebecca's already over there all comfy.
we're gonna introduce our special guest today. But writers, readers, and in-betweeners, it's your boy D to the E to the V, and y'all know who I got with me this time.
It's your favorite neighborhood poet, the Truth the Poet, you know what I'm saying, in the building.
Say, right? So, DA Truth, DA Poet. Tell them what's the number one rule for everything we do at Polish Your Piece.
You know how it is. The number one rule is always love. When we have love, we have everything great, no hate. So please, people on the podcast, keep an open heart and an open mind, and we're going to have a good time. You know how it is.
Easy work. Now, here's the other part. That's the rules, okay? Rest of the ground rules. It's really only two, all right? Participate. Participating is what makes this a community, okay? So like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever it is that you're doing. Have an argument about some of the things we talk about. But the third rule is we all writers, okay? So when you get in the comments, show off your writing skills in the comments, right? If you want to write us a poem about how you felt about this episode, if you want to write us use some double entendre about how you liked it.
Yeah.
Give us
some similes, some metaphors.
Some wordplay.
Some alliteration.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Get in the comments and get real elegant with it. You know what I mean? All right.
Use your lyricism.
Hey, now. Don't stop. Look. All right. You triggering me.
Okay.
But listen, I would like to introduce our guest for today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Dr. Rebecca Dupas.
Yes.
I've known this woman for so long. She has been a teacher in the community. She is one of the most outstanding, phenomenal poets. She's what I would coin the term a queen poet. She has led so many different people, and her tree of poetry, right? Like we talk about in sports, in basketball, like, oh, who did you play under? Who did you coach under?
Mm-hmm.
Her tree is crazy.
It is. I'm one of them branches.
I'm under the tree.
I'm under the tree.
And, Black chakra under the tree.
Black chakra.
I think you would be hard to find a poet in the city that's moving around now that's not under her tree.
Yeah.
She's a host.
Mm-hmm.
She's a writer.
What else?
She's a poet.
What else?
Look, I could go on and on. She's also a photographer.
Oh my goodness! And what else?
She shot some of our pictures.
Did she?
Baby showers and stuff.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But we appreciate and are so thankful to have you come and be on our pod. And we just are appreciative of your time because we know everything that you're doing, everything that you got going on.
Mm-hmm.
And ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome to the podcast, Polish Your Piece, Rebecca Dupas.
Don't forget the doctor.
Dr. Rebecca Dupas.
Yes.
Thank y'all. I'm excited. I love the both of you.
Aww.
And I don't even throw that term around often. Wow. I mean that genuinely.
Yeah.
I mean that genuinely. You know, people be like, I just love such and such, but I realize I be reserving that for some very specific moments. But when you all reached out to me, I was like, yeah, I absolutely want to talk to both of y'all. I love both of you. I respect you as artists, and I learn from both of you. Like that piece that you posted recently, Dev, when you were at Busboys. And I didn't know if it was comedy or a workshop or like you were sitting there checking in with the crowd to see if they was feeling the words, that you was spitting. And I was like, I think he's being intentional. Like it was so brilliant.
Yeah.
But I learned from you all the time. You already know. Beaches. What's the name of that?
Beaches. Yep, that's what it's called.
I mean, we were talking earlier about poems that could be studied. And that's definitely one of them ones. So, but no, I respect both of y'all. I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
It is an honor.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that. Hey, shout out Dion Cole. Go watch. I'm gonna send you one of his specials where I got that performance device.
Yeah,
from.
He killed it.
I've seen him do that. I've seen him pull out that little piece of paper and put a little.
Yeah.
I just took it to the. I just put that in my bag.
But it was great. I hadn't seen it poetry wise, and it worked.
Word. So let's kick this joint right off, and let me ask you this question. We normally start off here for everybody.
Okay.
When did you know that you were an artist, a leader, a poet, a writer, an author? When did you know?
I love that question. And I love the idea, when were you an artist? Because I know that's very different from recognizing the moment that I was a poet. I knew I was a poet first. And that was in middle school, interestingly enough. I'm not claiming that my poems was, what they needed to be in middle school, but I understood I was a poet because my journals made more sense as poems. And so I wrote all the time, but if I packaged it into a poem, like I had to reread it. It was feeding me. It was healing for me. It made sense to me, whether I was writing about my dad or friendship or, little middle school romance. It just made more sense to me in a poem. And so I knew pretty early. My mom was a poet, and so the concept was, familiar to me, but I understood, I can do that too. I saw it in myself and I kind of ran with it. But an artist, I was definitely in my 20s. I had definitely been performing for a while when I realized that it wasn't just me writing a poem, but me conceptualizing and like breathing life into something and willing to step outside of my comfort in support of a poem or in support of a show, that I realized there was artistry there was a creativity, there was a vision. And so I think that I had, it could have been my first CD, but I feel like it might have been after I actually started producing that I realized that there was another level to writing that included vision and action and themes and mantras and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like it was a whole nother situation for me when I was, and then it took me probably another 5 to 10 years to be comfortable saying I was an artist out loud.
Now, I
introduced myself as a poet or a probably poet. Spoken word artist was kind of trendy. I wasn't really focusing on the artist thing, but when I started writing artist into my bio or saying, oh yeah, I'm an artist too, it was years later that I could actually walk in that.
What do you think held up that hesitation? What gave you that hesitation to claim that in your walk?
Probably the way that I view other artists. And I can shout out, I can shout out celebrity wise. We were talking about Prince earlier, Michael Jackson earlier, Beyonce, when I think about what she did with Lemonade. Now, this was before that time, but I've always thought of artists as multifaceted. Maybe it's not just poetry. They sing, they dance, they act, blah, blah, blah. But also, if we think about Michael Jackson's Thriller only an artist can conceptualize something like that. He's more than just a singer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it was that kind of large scale idea of what an artist is, just growing up and it being this whole big thing that I didn't see myself in the beautiful streets of Baltimore, and not just yet. But it was also because more close to me, people like Love the Poet, people like Jahidi, people like the Fifth Ale. It's like they were writing and they were poets, but they were doing something else. Droopy the Broke Baller. They were getting on stage and they were, in my mind, and this is gonna sound, don't sound bite this because it ain't gonna sound right. In my mind, people were willing to be a fool and not care. And I'm not saying they were being silly. I'm saying that me walking in, you know, kind of prim and proper, and I'm gonna do this poem and I'm gonna fix my hair and I'm gonna straighten my shirt and everything is gonna look the way that I planned it to look. I wasn't fitting to be the fool that I am. Because I'm people who know me, like Love will tell you I'm a fool, but nobody saw that on stage. And so I was seeing them being outside of themselves, even though they were fully themselves. And I didn't think I could do that. And so I was limiting myself to, but will you get up there and rap? Nah. But would you get up there and play the keyboard? No. You know what I mean? I'm not even interested in learning. And so I was limited. But then when I realized it was simply pushing outside of my comfort zone, there was a lot to me outside of the picture perfect image I had of myself when I first started. So when I was able to tiptoe into that, even if it meant writing on a different topic, even if it meant making a joke in my poem, you know what I mean? Even if it meant talking about something sensual, whatever, then I realized, okay, you have a little bit more. But like now, to conceptualize shows around books or to think about albums more than just let me put these 12 poems together, but how can I create a story and an energy that fits the title that came to me in the middle of the night? Like that's when I started kind of, you have artistry, you know what I mean? You have that creative thing. And then the last thing I'll say is that I needed people, you know, that the whole saying, no man is an island. I had to allow people to reflect me back to me. And people have always seen me larger than I've seen myself. Like now it's not so bad. I'm like, I done caught up a little bit. But when I was younger, they would talk to me and I'd be like, me? I'm, you know, using words like amazing and I'm so in awe and you're so incredible. And I'm like, thanks. I couldn't see it. So when I allowed myself to not just hear it, but see it, it allowed me to be comfortable enough to call myself what I am. And that's not just artistry, that's smart. You know what I mean? That's beautiful. That's all of those things that for some reason felt separate to me. People could give it to me, but I wasn't giving it to myself. Before I get on the therapy couch, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pause right there. But yeah.
That's powerful because I mean, all of my poetry career, I've seen you as that person that, you know, the person that had me in awe and amazed. And I wouldn't even have thought that you didn't see yourself that way.
So. And I was just doing. I'm a doer. I was just doing. Did it dawn on me that I was hosting what was then the longest running weekly open mic in the city, that I had somehow broken to this code that Bassman and Walt and others had built, and that there were other people on the scene that may have wanted to do it or may have seemed the next likely to. I wasn't thinking about none of that. I was just doing. When E was like, you need to be spitting here, I was in the car with E. I was spitting where I was spitting. But I think I've moved through a lot of life, and this is a pro and a con, kind of following my gut and following good counsel. And so that has exposed me to a lot, and it's put me in places that I might not have gone on my own. The con to that is that I'm not always super present in the moment. So I feel like I missed some of the cues and the clues around me. And so when people give me the love or the hate, I'd be confused about both sometimes. I'm like, what? What I do? Like somebody came up to me and was like, this was years ago. A brother asked me if I thought I was oversaturating the scene. I was like, what? And when I look back, yeah, first of all, that, we ain't even gonna talk about it, but somebody asked me that. But that was one of them things where the blinders came off, and I was like, oversaturate? How could I be doing that? And what does that mean? And why would it be a problem if I was? Like, all of these questions started coming to me. But now if I go back on Facebook, like 2013, 2014, and every other status is me performing at these 6 places, these 7 places, hosting these 5 venues all at one time. Then I'm like, well, I guess that could feel a certain way for somebody, or somebody could have a feeling about that, but I wasn't thinking about it. I was working.
You was just getting
You
to
was
the
just
bag.
doing. You was just doing.
So let me ask you this: what was his problem with your saturation of the market? Was he saying that for you, and you at the moment couldn't feel that he was saying it for you, or was he saying that for him?
I will never know. I have speculations, but I will never know, because it wasn't spoken in malice, which is why I could receive it and not be thrown by it. It was a regular conversation. And so I never got angry with this person. It's just that I sat with it. Like, well, why would he ask me that though? And what does
Because
that
my
mean?
wife,
And who else might feel that way? And then what should I be doing? Should I be limiting myself? Like, I will only host the one poetry venue at a time, or should I not let y'all know that I have 10 shows in the next, 4 weeks? Like, it just it made me think, but I don't know. But for me, it's an example of, I'll be minding my business. Sometimes that might make me oblivious to things, but
pun
I'm
intended,
minding my business, and I'm doing what I feel I'm supposed to be doing, which is, I think I'm an educator, and I think I am for many people an inspiration, even when I'm not cognizant of it. But I'm gonna keep moving. You know what I mean? And so I do.
So talk to me. So all right, the reason why I asked that question is my follow-up question.
Okay.
Well, this is a comment first. So the comment is, the reason why I asked that is because my wife would tell me when, like, we have an event or we doing something, to say, always leave people wanting more. Right. So I asked, do you think that person was trying to help you, or if they were feeling like you were taking from them? Because my wife would tell me, like, you rap twice, 2 songs, just chill and let people want the next time they come, let them want it
some more
instead of
yeah.
Right. So the reason why I asked that question is because lately, or recently, you just had a post about pay for shows, poetry pay.
Yeah.
Right. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about, how much should artists be taking? Is it because some people could feel like, the same way you was like, well, why is that person worried about how much I'm saturating the market? Somebody could say, if I can only get $50, I need to get this 50 because this ain't even my number one thing. I'll take whatever for it.
Yeah.
Or if I don't get paid this 50, I'm not getting nothing. So talk me through poetry pay. Why is that important? Let's get into that.
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna say one thing going back though. If that person was trying to help me, I wish they would have just talked to me plain. Cause I couldn't, I couldn't hear. He left me wondering, not knowing. And I think that's a problem. Like, just communicate, say how you feel. So I love though that that you get that information straight up. You know what I mean? Because we can deal with it when it's straight up. And as a segue, the reason why I made that post about money is because we don't talk about it and we're not clear about it. And so as a result, people are finding their way a lot of times through some BS, and we don't have to. One of the things that I said though in that post is that it's really up to you. If $50 is going to make you feel whole for whatever that moment is, whether it's the moment in your life or the type of event, then take it. But there's a ceiling and there's a floor when it comes to pay. And if we don't raise the floor, we ain't gonna raise the ceiling. Or we could raise the floor and never raise the ceiling, but then what's the benefit in that? And so I feel like we gotta be cognizant, not that I need to be in your pockets, because I don't need to know how much you're getting paid. I need to know what is the standard or even what is the baseline for this kind of thing so that I can navigate through it. So just like I'm not going to ask you how much money you get paid at your job, I'm not going to be like, how much did they give you for that feature? Well, actually, I might. Actually, if I feel like somebody is throwing a low number at me and I know somebody
being shortchanged,
I might say, how much do they pay as such and such? Because then I can feel whole. The last thing I want to do is show up to your venue mad at you because I feel like you getting over on me, and then I can't even, I'm not in my head, or I'm in my head and I'm not actually in my performance, then I mess up, and then y'all like, that's why we shouldn't have asked her to come here anyway. So I might would ask, but typically.
So what's the floor right now for poets, and what's the ceiling, and then what should be?
I can't honestly tell you what the floor and the ceiling is because we don't talk about it. But if I am making an educated guess, I would say that when I was growing up, the floor was $50. It feels like the floor right now might be around $100. And it also depends on the venue. So right now we're talking about open mics. I think the floor right now for open mics is 100. I feel like most
and we talking about featuring
at an open mic. Absolutely. Featuring. Yeah. Okay. So if you are the invited poet, the floor might be somewhere around 100. I don't know anybody that's given less than 100, but then again, I'm not traveling the nation performing, and that might be one of the reasons why people don't want to have the conversation with me, because the messenger matters, but the people who don't want to talk about it either. And I think we have a lot of fear around folks meeting us and then, feeling like, everybody's an equal, or just being in our pockets. It's uncomfortable. But to answer the question, I think the floor is around 100. And I think for open mics, the ceiling, it's like a few $100s. I feel like for open mics, in terms of what they're offering, not what you might demand as an artist, but I feel like the most that I've heard at an open mic might be $350-ish, but that's big open mics, you know what I mean? So not everybody is experiencing that type of money. And then once you get up there, you kind of in the showcase, for a showcase, you could easily get that kind of money. If you're in the college circuit, then that's chump change. Colleges easily might give you a G.
Get a stack.
Yeah.
We're going to stack it up.
So for me, there is no ceiling. I don't cap no money. You know what I'm saying? There's no ceiling.
But we talking about ceiling as in, everything is supply and demand. So even though it might not be a ceiling for you, but what is the general lay of the land?
Yeah, I get it. So in my terms, I would never, I want artists to feel like there is, you know what I'm saying, there is no ceiling, kind of like you were saying, demand, like you were saying it's different for every artist, and kind of demand what you want. You know what I'm saying? And there's these bases that she was going through, which I agree. I totally agree. But demand where you are and what you feel. Like, I'm pretty sure you make demands when you're being asked. And I know it's hard because people don't want to live up to the demands that a lot of artists ask for.
There are a lot of poets getting paid more than me. And there are a lot of poets, if I told them what I charge, they'd be like, what? I had somebody called me after I posted that, and they were assuming that I charged 50% more than what I charge. And I was like, no, but it's different for me. I got 2 jobs. Like everybody's point of reference is different. And I'm not saying that I don't deserve money because I have 2 jobs. I'm simply saying that poetry is always icing for me. It's always a blessing for me. And I pray that it stays that way. I haven't shifted to any other position on it. And if I did, then I might be like, well, nah, I'm not coming out my house for less than X, Y, and Z. But everybody's going to have a different demand. But when I say floor and ceiling, I'm only talking about an understanding of what to ask for so that you are not lowballing yourself. If I go to an open mic, and again, I'm guessing if the floor is 100 and the ceiling is 350, then as an artist, somebody who's being invited out, who is cognizant of my skill, then I'm not going, if you say 75, then I'm going to say, how about 100? How about we just go ahead and round that up to 100? Because most of the open mics are paying that much. Or I might say gas alone gonna take about a fourth of that. So
right.
Is it food there? I'm gonna be hungry. I'm like, can we just make it 100? Or if I'm going and it's a big open mic and they're like, we pay our features 125, then at least I get to know, they finna make 10 G's tonight.
Exactly.
Can I at least ask for 2? I think so. It might give me courage to ask for what would make sense for me, because if you ask me to come, you believe in my talent, or you could believe in something else. But you believe in my talent, you want me there. You want me there. So how about,
I'm sick of you with the believing something else stuff.
Well, I ain't lying.
Hey now. So country, I ain't lying.
Right.
But so if a college asked me to come, wouldn't I be silly if I didn't do my homework to know that people in this area or community colleges, they're paying baseline, let's say 500, then wouldn't I be a fool to go for 200?
So what would your advice be?
Say that again.
I'm sorry. What would your advice be to the artist who is trying to figure out their worth or their pay, or trying to navigate artistry on their own with pay? What would one piece of sound advice be for that artist?
The first is be honest with yourself about where you are and what you bring.
Okay.
And pay attention at open mics. Pay attention in terms of who's being invited and what is being applauded, not in the sense that you need to adapt yourself or change who you are, but you got to know what the market is looking for. And it could be a lot of things can hold us back. It could be our content, it could be our stage presence, it could be our following, it could be our delivery. Our poems could be amazing and our delivery could be off. But you got to be honest about where you are and how you're embraced as an artist in order to start making those demands. But I will also say, once you start getting invited out, that's a sign. That's a sign that you're ready to start crafting a package for yourself. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna perform, I'm gonna give 125. If that's your thing, it's gonna be 125. I'm gonna start, and then then you're like, oh shit, my last poem, I had, they asked me for an encore. We might have to, I got 6 of them things. It's gonna change. Because there's no way to write the textbook for it. I'm just saying we got to start the conversation and get people thinking about what's due to them.
And I love what you're saying. Like as a writer, and as a poet, as an artist, period. Whatever I'm doing, I'm saying I think we should just all come together and be like, we not accepting no less than this. If you want me to feature, it's got to be 150. And if we all charge that, they won't run to him, her, whoever, and pay that. Because in that way, we automatically raise it. But now this is the problem with that thought, though. Because also as a curator, and a space, a person who runs a space and who has it, you only getting like 50 to 60 people in here comfortable, right? People are charging $5 for their poetry events, $10 for their poetry events. Now that's capping it to where we charge 20. People look at that funny. Like, oh, you charging 20?
This is
So now, if I can get, if on the perfect night, I'm getting 50 people in here and I can only charge 20, I can only make $1,000. So now I'm finna give you 150. You want me to pay a DJ? You want me to have a camera person? There's no money to be made.
you don't have to have no DJ and no camera person.
There we go. There we go. There, I was just about to say. Go.
You don't have to have a DJ. You don't have to have a camera person. Those are the options. And but see, people be putting the poet and the artist alongside the options. Now, first of all, DJs are artists. So let me get that, let me clarify that. But I'm saying you don't have to have the light guy. You don't have to have the bottle girls, just as an example. You don't have to have 4 or 5 different artists on this. You don't have to have all of those things, but whatever you decide as a promoter to curate, you have to envision the artist, which is going to make your event, as a necessity, and not line them up next to the food. Like, wait, hold on, my food costs $200. Nah, that's your business.
Right. No, listen.
But you want me.
But I agree with that, right? But to me, you cannot DJ. Okay, cool. But let's just say event rental, the rental space, and the camera.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do an event now without paying for the space and without having a camera.
So this is where I want you to chime in. Dr. Dupas, tell us what makes a successful curator, please.
Oh, I feel like well, you know what? I'm going to accept the honor in that question, because a part of me doesn't feel qualified to answer it. And in part it's because right now I hadn't curated anything in a while until somebody else's blues.
Which I'm excited
but
to see.
I'm going to answer from that experience. Say that again.
I said, which I'm excited to see. I can't wait to see somebody else.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, tell us, when is that again?
I have them periodically. I want to do another one potentially in June, but I'll throw a flyer up.
Okay.
But I feel like for event curation, it is really different. It depends on what you are trying to do. But when it comes to poetry, is it just the open mic?
No, let's say monthly event that may have an open mic piece and it has a feature. However you want to add sauce around that. But it's monthly and it does have an open mic portion.
So
what's happening?
He's pretty much saying
what's happening outside
open mic.
the open mic portion?
Feature, writing workshop.
Damn. Well, first of all, we're gonna focus. This monthly event, because I don't know that it needs 3 or 4 pieces. But I also want to say that when I hear open mic, I automatically hear feature. So let's say it's a monthly open mic and you're bringing a feature.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the first thing that has to be done is that you have to begin to market yourself and your team, your company, your brand.
Hey, once again, Polish Your Piece podcast. This is the homie drip of the day. This piece right here is made by none other than MRI Programs. You got the MC joint, we got the parent joint, we got the dancer joint, we got the supporter joint. It's lit. Look, you can shop at www.mriprograms.org or swing through MRI Studios, 20 North Howard Street, and get your hoodie, man. Get your t-shirt. Lock in with us. Support what we doing.
People have to know who you are, and they have to come to trust that if you're going to put something together, that it's going to be worth their time and their money. I think the other part of that is conceptualization. conceptualization, couldn't get that out, but what's going to happen for the time that you have them? You know, you starting, you know, first 30 mix and mingle with your DJ, which could be a playlist, but we don't have to talk about it, you know. But is it mix and mingle in the beginning? Is it open mic for 30 minutes, then 20-minute feature, then another, you know, but you got to have your layout in mind. It needs to have some type of organization because people need to know what to expect. One of the things I love about Bus Boys is that I know if I get there at 8, the feature going up around 9, we going out at 10. I know that. So if I'm late, I already know when I miss the feature. I ain't got to be hitting people up like I used to. Did the feature go? Did the feature go? You know, there's some continuity about it. And I also think that as a curator, somebody on the team got to be the people person. And somebody got to be the hospitality person. Those are two different people. So somebody got to be the people person, where when I step in the space, I feel connected. And that's one of the things I love about pure poetry. Orville and his team on top of that. Yeah. Somebody meeting you at the car, somebody showing you to your seat, somebody checking in on you throughout the night. You feel like you are a special guest. You feel like you are a feature. It's your moment. You know what I mean? And that's really important in terms of building the scene. But then on the hospitality side of it, what is it about this space that make me feel like my $20 was worth it? You know, what kind of seats you got people sitting in? Can they see the stage? Is the bathrooms clean? Like all of those, I feel like it's all about an experience.
Yeah, there we go. I was waiting for you to hit it.
But I feel like, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I was waiting for you to say that word. I knew it was coming. It's all about the experience.
Yes, it's all about an experience. And that's going to be different because if you ask me about somebody else's blues, it's me. It's Rebecca Dupas, Bex, Riri, or whatever my family want to call me. It's just me. It's a team of people. And curation for that is all about emotions for me. I'm like, which poems am I going to spit to generate this type of conversation? What's going to be my follow-up? What is the order of poems so that it's not too heavy and then too light? Like, how do I mix that up? It's about making sure they eat. It's about, you know what I mean? It's a whole different thing. So I feel like we can talk about curation according to different types of events, and it'll be different for each type of event.
Because the event that I heard you curating, it sounded like you could fit 100, 200 people in there, and you're gonna make money off a bar, and people gonna buy food. And then when you said what you said about someone else's blues, it sounded like you worried about that less. That seemed more intimate.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about making a bunch of money. I'm creating an experience where I get fed and I get to feed people. That's my prayer. And people leave wanting to come again. It's more therapeutic than anything. So, you know, I had a DJ the first time and I realized, nope, that's not what I need for this play. I'm gonna throw on a playlist for the first 30 minutes, and then it's all about people. It's all about connections. It's all about it's like facilitation, conversation. I don't even perform the same. I'm in a well, I do love sitting in the stool regardless, but the poetry is supposed to do this versus that in a space like that. Everything is different. So I feel like the conceptualization piece is huge in curation because you're going to go in a different direction each time.
Word.
You might have a poetry spot where you're bringing in models because you trying to create an intimate, frisky.
Right.
I've said that for a long time. You know what I mean? You trying to create something else, so you need something different.
It was the hand. It was the hands. Really.
Dr. Frisky. So
I'm out here sounding like somebody's grandmother.
So
not at all. Maybe auntie, not grandma.
So hold up. So tell me this: what is your writing superpower? If you had
relatability.
Okay.
Relatability.
People have told me for the longest time I say what they've always wanted to say, or I say what they couldn't say, or get out my journal, get out my head. And and I've learned to lean into my natural vernacular. Even when I write statuses now, I'm more comfortable just writing the way that I would talk in my kitchen, visiting my family in Louisiana, or in those silly moments that I talked about earlier. And so cursing, like I'm more comfortable just like if you and I was at Fridays getting some, they don't have Jack Daniels wings no more. But anyway, if we was at Fridays back in the day getting the Jack Daniels wings and we was having a conversation, this is what I would sound like. And so I became more comfortable writing that way as well. And interestingly enough, when I hear some of my older pieces, which I love the way I used to write, I'm actually impressed by it. I hope that doesn't sound shallow, but I'm impressed by the way I used to write, but I hear the academia in it.
Yes.
Not that I was it wasn't like a dissertation, but my sentence structure was a bit more complex. My words were I don't know that I was leaning on imagery as much as I was leaning on emotion then. So when I hear a poem, like what it looked like if I'm looking back at old videos, or even the poem, the name is escaping me now. Even 1:00 in the morning, I was just making sense of shit. Like that's all I was just trying to make sense of it. And for some people, that's not even poetry. But anyway, for me, I was just making sense of it. It wasn't a lot of poetic devices, maybe some repetition and parallelism, but I'm just talking to you. I'm talking to you about this man. He called me at 1:00. He was at my door at 1:15. And I guess there's poetry in that, because then you got to be like, well, damn, that's 15 minutes. So where was the nigga at when he
Right.
when he hit a rock? And then you got to realize he's so sure he hit me when he was already on the way. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I just be talking. And I feel like at this point, I've learned how to rhyme in a way that's not like sing-songy, where you can predict what I'm gonna say so much. I mean, you might be able to, but it's not gonna be like, oh, door, floor,
Right.
I try to do that, but I'm trying to play around with my rhyme more so that I can still just have a conversation with you, but it's poetic. And there's going to be some imagery. And when people do point out wordplay, a lot of times I didn't know I did that. They like, but back here you said funeral, and then in this line you said ghost, and I was like, oh, I did. So I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus, because it's not what I'm thinking about, but
one of them poet you ain't know it moments.
It'd be a little bit of that, but yeah, I just be talking, just like now. I know I talk a lot, so just reel me in, but I just be talking, and that works.
I love it though. So and spoken word can be so aggressive, and you have never been the aggressive type poet, and I think that's what makes you very unique. You are loud in your quiet, in your just smooth tone. You don't gotta go to a thunder to make it lightning. You know what I'm saying? So when did you own that? How did that? Did you already just have that style, or was it something that you had to like make yourself own? How does that work for you?
I think it's natural. I think it's a part of me being reserved and careful, where I'm gonna just kind of exist with an expectation that things fall into place.
Okay.
That's how I taught. And I feel like that must be how I approach the stage, because people would say, and you would get up on that stage and you would just wait, and then they would be quiet, and I'd be like, that's my girl. But in my mind, I wasn't like, let me get on the stage and stand real tough so people know to be quiet. It was just, the expectation is, I done worked hard on this piece. I'm here to share it, and I ain't fitting to fight with nobody to share it. But something about the way I approached it sent a message to people, right? And I feel that's how I taught as well. Like my students never expected me to curse at them or throw something or throw them out. It was just like, we fitting to do this warm up. When the warm up is done, grab a book from this table right here, turn to page 26. I want you to do those 10, bring them to me. I'm gonna let you know what's next. And so in my classroom, I had order, but it's not like I begged for it. It's not like I wrote it on the board. It was just kind of how I approach things. And I feel like when I write a poem kind of similar to that, I'm not thinking, oh, how am I going to make sure they listen? Or how am I going to make sure that, they take me serious? I'm just like, I'm fitting to write this poem. This is what I'm going to say. And then when I play it back to myself, I'm like, nah, that's not clear enough. Or you need to say that different. And then once I have the message, then I try to lean more so on the poetic devices. I'm like, okay, you doing a little bit too little right here or too much right there, or this would be a good place for you to say something slick, that kind of thing. So I think for me, I'm just writing to communicate, and I'm showing up to communicate, but I still know I'm a poet and it's poetry. But I'm not led with this part all the time, which is why I complimented you, Truth, about how much poetic device you can pack into a piece. I'm like, I'm an English teacher. I know what these things are, but when I see you do it, I'm like, wow. But I don't know. I mean, clearly I do it, but I'm not cognizant of it, if that makes any sense. Did I answer your question, Truth?
I feel like you did.
Yeah.
And so look, right? You brought up educator and teacher twice, right?
Yeah.
We had talked about it in your intro, but I want to get to this question. So, like, for an example, um, I remember one time back when I used to work at the Real News Network. At this point,
I
you had
remember that.
organized a host retreat. Like, you were multiple times, you were having everybody in the city who was hosting or who wanted to host in one room. And
I missed out on these.
and then you was having your good friends come through and teach everybody stuff. And the things that I learned in that, you know what I'm saying, I still use to this day as a host. Um, I remember you was teaching us even as a host, but some kind of way being a poet got him. You talked about deep pocket. You talked about.
Oh, so that's where you got it from.
I got it from her.
I didn't even know that. He say deep pockets all the time. I'm like, what are you talking about?
And I got it from Lamar Hill.
Look at that. Look at that. How they all just,
So, one, tell us what deep pockets is, since we hit that. But two, talk to us about your tree. How, you said I'm an educator. You said what my students want. But is this just a part of who you are? How have you been able to impact so many poets, so many hosts? Why was it important to have that host retreat? Give us all of that after you explain what deep pockets.
Okay. Y'all keep me focused because I realize how hype I'm getting. Okay.
Get hype.
Hey now.
Get hype.
Deep pockets is a lesson I learned from Lamar Hill. And
shout out to Lamar.
I haven't seen Lamar in a while. But for a period of time, we were that was big bro. So we were thick as thieves, especially after Warm Wednesdays or other people's open mics, just out on the sidewalk kicking it. And one of the things that he shared with me, and Love and Shelly, and others, was that you have to have deep pockets as an artist. You can't get by on one or two poems, and you can't get by on the same topic. And for someone like me who writes still a lot of relationship pieces, I had to recognize I needed to 112 it. You know what I mean? It makes me think about a 112 CD. All of them gonna be love songs, but they're not all gonna feel the same. So even if you are, kind of skating around the same topic, how do you diversify the energy of these poems so it still feels like a different experience when you pull it out? So Lamar just reminded us all that as an artist, you got to be an artist. And it can't just be 3 poems. You got to be able to pull out the bag. Oh, I'm about to give him the one about my mother. Okay, I see how the room going. I'm about to hit him with this breakup piece. Oh, okay, we didn't have about 4 breakup pieces. Let me bring out the love poem. Or it's been love all night. I'm about to switch it up and just talk about racism. Like whatever the case is, he told you,
Right.
you know, be ready. And truth, you did that when we performed together the last time. You was like, y'all tired of love, ain't you? And then you hit us, you hit us with
Switch the
something
whole
else.
thing
So,
up.
yeah, you got to be able to switch the energy in the room, and show your versatility. And I have performed without having deep pockets. After my dissertation, my creativity was a little low and my performance was not where I knew it could be for a while. And I had 4 poems. And everywhere I went, people got them 4 poems. And they didn't complain, but I knew better. And so I got to a point not even long ago where I was like, you write 30 poems a year, because I do the Harvest Society. Start memorizing your shit. Like, you gonna have to come up out this rut that you're in because you know better. And even though I have a core group of people who love me and I'm so grateful, they will come out and hear them 4 poems several times in a year and they will never complain. But if I want to grow that core group of people that love me, I'm going to have to be able to pull out something that's going to get that particular person invested in me and then that particular person invested in me so I can have what is the right word? Viable following, one that's gonna live and thrive.
Right.
I didn't forget the second part of the question, Dev. Help me.
Now here you go. Here's the second part.
Okay.
Well, this is a separate question. This question is this. Talk to me about your tree, right? You mentioned being an educator, mentioned being a teacher, and we talked about how many people that we feel like off your tree, both of ourselves being on your tree. I made a post and I said, I'm excited I'm having one of my mentors, come through. How do you view that? Like, how did that become a part of what is going to be your legacy in the Baltimore poetry scene or the poetry scene, period?
I need to tap into that energy more. The city gave me the honor of Baltimore legend. And it meant the world to me, but I don't know if I sat in it yet. And what is that, 2 years now? I don't know if I sat in it yet. For you to refer to me as a mentor, that genuinely warmed my spirit just now. And I've had people say things like that to me, but I feel like I'm still experiencing a little bit of imposter syndrome. Where it's like, who, me? But in conversations like this, when I'm forced to think back on the Baltimore Host Retreat or what was it called? Anecdote Tuesdays, Warm Wednesdays, Verbatim Mondays, the thing at Applebee's, Talk to Me Tuesdays, and Coffee and Critiques, and all of the ways that I've created platforms. I think the tree has grown because I be in my mind minding my business. Like I'm not trying. I'm not trying to grow a branch. I am existing. I'm rooted here. I'm a poet. I am a event curator. And I'm someone who thrives off community, so I'm constantly creating it. Even somebody else's blues is me creating community. The Harvest Society on Facebook, I'm creating community. This is all natural to me. When I started the poetry club at Woodlawn, I didn't know I was going to meet a Jacob Mayberry. I don't take any credit. I can't for who Jacob Mayberry is. The seed was in the tree. I met him and he was Jacob Mayberry. All I did was create a platform for him to water himself, I guess, and then water others. And I introduced him to people who and I didn't even know it at the time. It just seemed like the right thing to do. But I introduced him to the Poet MC and a Femi and a Lamar Hill, and the Baltimore poetry scene. We went on field trips. We went to studios. But it's not an intentional, and maybe I need to brand myself differently. But at the moment, it's not intentional. It's just, I'm an educator. I need community. I love hearing people's art. I grow. And by the way, I got some stuff that I want you to hear too. You know what I mean? Like those things kind of just happen. But the tree is a blessing. All that to say, for you to talk about a tree, it's a blessing. And I think a part of me runs from the tree too, if I can just be honest. When you opened up by saying most artists in the city probably under that tree, my insides was like, oh, don't say that. Because I already know 3 or 4 people that be like, I ain't under her fucking tree. I'm not on that, because ego is a strong thing. Like you can tell me all day I'm under Olu's tree. You can tell me all day I'm under Lamar's tree or Talam's tree, and it's true. You know what I mean? But now we got folks that like, I am who I am, and yeah, I was gonna be doing this. So even when you said it, I'm like, oh Lord, please don't tell nobody my branch is shading them, because it's about to be. I didn't already have my little silly beef. I was like, I don't even want no smoke. But I love that concept. And I thank you for saying it. And I need to sit in that, because I had an amazing experience doing some of those things. And to know that it mattered to a few or some, you know what I mean? That's legacy. And
because I'm just thinking, if you think about who was in the room at the host retreat, what was that, 2014,
2013, 14, yeah.
All of them niggas get money now. Like everybody who was in that room, right? I can't remember who was all in the room, but I remember the people who given the points. I see when they post stuff or when they talk or when I see what they're doing, they are taking care of themselves in poetry. And then I know, I use those things, and I know some of the. I actually don't even know how I got in the room, because I felt like everybody that was in there was OGs. So I'm still confused. I don't even know how the conversation even happened. Can I come? But I'm
still amazed.
But I see everybody was doing well. You know what I mean? And you gotta talk about those types of things, because people don't give game for free, like you was talking about earlier.
You gotta give flowers where they are deserved, and you deserve to smell your flowers and see the fruits of your labor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sniff on. I think we allow, like you said, those few haters, those few people who are not even relevant to our life carry too much weight in it, and ignore the 50 million people who are shedding the light towards you. Because to be nominated and receive legend, you've received legend where? In Baltimore, in DC for the DMV?
Only in Baltimore.
Okay.
Poet of the Year in Philly and Baltimore, but Baltimore Legend in Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah, to receive that means Baltimore has approved you and felt you as that legend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel it. If in everything that I've done, I've learned from you. Even from being now a host at Bus Poets and Poets, my reference was like, "Oh, Rebecca did it." I felt like I took that was, a step of where, oh, I'm approved now, or they're seeing me the way they saw her, or you know what I'm saying, opening the doors for, like, I will never forget, I was in my teens, and I say this story all the time about you, and I was supposed to be going to the NAACP to do a poetry competition, and you opened up on Wednesdays and let me feature, and you told them what I was doing. I raised all my money that night to go. I came third in place in the nation, and that started like me having confidence in myself, believing in what I could do. That opened up a whole lot of doors for me, the experience alone. And from that point on, you know what I mean? And I will always be appreciative of it, even to this day. So thank you again.
Copy the right cat.
Copy the right cat. And so whatever you do, we are learning. We are students still from afar. So,
oh man,
I hope you're receiving.
So
all
look,
those things.
we
I
coming
received
up.
that. Thank you.
We coming up. Let me get some quick answers to a question or two real quick.
Okay, Rebecca, quick.
All right.
Okay.
No, but I mean, this is really just a quick type of question.
Okay, Sim.
When do you get booked the most? Black History Month, Women's Month, Poetry Month, or something else?
Oh, them things back to back. I feel like it's
know.
usually women's month. My March is usually nice. This year it was Black History Month though. I had like 6 or 7 gigs, which is good for me. And
You know they'll tear a poet up in Black History Month.
Oh yeah.
yeah, but it's usually Women's History Month. I my jam is talking to women, so that's usually my
Word.
time. Yeah.
Word. All right, now I mentioned shotgun earlier when we was talking. I don't know if that was pre-camera, pre episode.
That was.
But talk me through shotgun. You know, for the writers out there, give me your process on writing that, and why was it important for that message to come, and what did you tap into to get there?
I was trying to save a relationship.
Hey now,
Be real
I was
about
trying
it
to
though.
save a relationship in that piece. And so I might have been writing hard, you know, in terms of my what my writing hard exists of. I was trying to let this brother know how much I cared about him. Now it was necessary for God to remove him, but in the moment I didn't see it. And I was just like, I don't want to lose this right now. And so instead of me writing a poem that was like, please come back to me, because that's not my style. I wrote a poem that was, let me tell you the value that you have in my life. And it came from a real place. Number one, I love riding. I'm a country girl, and we could ride, and we didn't need no destination, or if we had a destination, the fun was still the car. You know what I mean?
Right.
Music blasting, went down, people picking fun, fights, whatever. And so I had that notion of just loving to ride, but I also had the notion of loving to ride next to him. And you know, like he had nice cars even in college, so I could really get in the seat and feel, you know, we were to use the terminology of the time, we were swagged out, you know what I mean, in these cars. And I'm like, this is where I belong. You know what I mean?
right?
I belong in this little Infinity. I belong in your mama Porsche. Like this, yes, let's do this. So I tapped into the feeling of comfort, the feeling of trust, because I did trust him. I never even imagined us not being together. Like my trust was deep. And so I tapped into the trust. I tapped into the joy of riding in a car. I tapped into the joy of sitting next to him. I tapped into some of his mannerisms, because he did ride like his front seat was in his back seat. You know what I mean? So I wanted to paint that picture, but it was really an ode to him. And so I wrote it with that kind of love and respect.
Okay. So this is my last question.
Okay.
All right. The Faithful Farmer, 365 prompts, 12 poems. Talk to me. Tell us where we can get it. Tell us about it, and how you come up with The Faithful Farmer. 360. I just dropped the book. I got 10 prompts. I was stressed out getting it done. You did 365 prompts.
She a doctor.
What type of, you got performance enhancing writing? Like, what's going on?
This is another example of, I was kind of minding my business and not being cognizant of what was happening around me. But I started the Harvest Society on Facebook 8 years ago. And I believe I started it in October, which is why I called it the Harvest Society. I was thinking about the fall. I was thinking about planting crops. And I don't know, I kind of looked up the cycle and it kind of made sense. I'm like, we writing in the fall, we gonna plant the seed, the crop gonna grow, whatever. So I named it the Harvest Society. And I was like, we're gonna do 31 poems in 31 days. And I'm inspired by, as an English teacher, teaching Emily Dickinson, who wrote, I believe, over 700 poems in 1 year. Ooh. When I learned that, or is this over 700 poems in her lifetime? But in 1 year, she wrote a whole bunch of poems. I don't want to get to lying. Anyway, she wrote a bunch of poems in a year. And so that always, I carried that with me like, well, if Dickinson can do it, I damn sure can, I can do 30 poems in 30 days. And so I started the Harvest Society. And at that time, a lot of people was like, yeah, we're going to write with you. And many people did. Now, 8 years later, I started doing it in April and October every year for 8 years. Wasn't collecting them, wasn't doing nothing. I was just coming up with these things I thought would make for good poems, and people were participating and I was writing, and I didn't always do the full 30 or 31, but it was, poems were generated, sometimes just for keeps or things I might bring to the stage after I edited them. And then last year, I was talking to Luminous, Nicole, but her poetry name was Luminous. I was talking to Luminous and I was like, I'm gonna pull these prompts together and do something with them. Now, at that time, I just thought that I was gonna do something. I didn't know what it was gonna be, but I didn't think it was gonna be that. And she was like, oh yeah, because I collect them. She was like, I have a folder full of a bunch of them so that when I want to write, I can just pull one. I was like, send them to me. So she sends me like a bunch, more than 100, but she sends me prompts that I've written over the years that she had. And then I was like, well, let me go back to the Facebook group and get the rest. So the next thing I know, I have 300 prompts from 8 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, you done created a book. So anyway, I had to create a few more to make it 365. And then I'm like, but you've been writing to these prompts. So if you're going to entice people and it's going to be through your poetry, then why don't you show them at least 2 poems that you wrote for each of these months of prompts? And so I constructed the book, and that wasn't even at first. At first it was just prompts, and I was like, well, that's stupid. What am I gonna do? A prompt a page? Like, how am I gonna do it? So then when I put them January, February through December for each month, I found a poem that I liked that I had written to one of those prompts, and I included it in the book. So now it's 365 prompts and then 24 original poems. So you can get the example of something that I created. This whole idea of planting a seed, nurturing the crop, getting the harvest. As a poet, that's what we do. We find the muse, we write the poem, and hopefully we nurture the poem. Yeah. And then we bring it to the stage, and we bring it to our grandma or whomever, and somebody's life has changed. And so the book for me, The Faithful Farmer, Harvest Society, people started calling me a good farmer. Shout out to Sister Tracy. And when I asked K Love, I asked 5 people in the community to write a foreword. So in the book, B. Sharice Moore, Jamal St. John, Jacob Mayberry, K Love the poet, Khalid, I'm not thinking of his last name, but he is a faithful contributor. Is it? No, I think it's a different Khalid. Oh. But he'd been rocking with me for years now. I asked them to create the forward for me. And anyway, in doing so, Sister Tracy she said I was a doctor before I was a doctor. And she started writing about how I've been planting seeds and the way that she constructed it. And then when K-Love said that you could liken me to a good farmer, she affirmed what Sister Tracy had been saying. And I didn't want to name it The Good Farmer because I wanted to be creative. I wanted it to come from me. So I pondered on it. This whole idea of planting a seed and not knowing what you're going to get as a writer, as a person, I was like, you got to have faith to do that. So and I love alliteration. So I named it. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And where can we buy that joint?
On my website, most of my books are there, RebeccaDupas.com. But I definitely, Faithful Farmer is new, so I'm trying to see that thing flying. I hope that people do
Yes.
read it and enjoy
Please
it.
grab it. We hope that all our people who are listening, please go grab that. I'm pretty sure all you writers are going to be inspired to write clearly, and y'all can become a part of her tree.
Hey now.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh man.
And how you are author of how many books now?
7.
7 books.
Seven. I am self-publishing out the ass. It's like I'm just,
I know that's right.
all intentional. But yes, this makes book number 7.
Congratulations on
Thank
7
you.
published
Thank you.
books.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we have enjoyed you so much. I feel like we could have probably talked for 3 hours. I still didn't get to half of my questions.
Yeah.
Was it because I was talking too much?
But he took up all the questions, to be honest.
I did. I really did.
Now that you say it, I didn't hear no question from Truth. Well, I did
it's
one.
Cool. But you see, you know why? Because you're gonna have tea time,
right,
with Truth.
Okay.
And I'm really digging my bag. See, now I got extra stuff to dig in my bag when we have this conversation in concert on April 25th, which I'm so excited.
Conversation and concert. Yes, I gotta get my poems ready. Okay.
Yes. And what's the other book that just came out prior to this?
Somebody Else's Blues.
Somebody Else's Blues. So we'll be talking a lot about that, and I'm excited.
That's a novel, a poetry book, and a relationship reflection journal. It's 3 books called Somebody Else's Blues.
Ooh. And I would love I can't wait to dig and dive all into that. You know what I'm saying? So I let Dev have you for today. You know what I mean? But you got me.
Appreciate it. I was
April 25th.
all over the place. Thank you.
Absolutely. And look, if he wasn't saying nothing, we'd have been cut you off. And, all right, listen, next question. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sure people who have been following you, going to watch this and appreciate the moments that we had on here. And then also to just hear you talk about probably what y'all talk about when y'all be in passing or at shows or whatever, but hear you talk to somebody else about it. You know what I'm saying? I think your fans would really enjoy this. And leading up to the show and on the 25th, it is going to be a nice little snack before the meal.
I'm excited.
Looking forward to it. Thank y'all for inviting me. Seriously. It's a good conversation too. I appreciate it.
So anything else you got popping before we head out? What you got going on? Anything?
You all were on point with shouting out the Faithful Farmer. That's my newest baby.
Okay.
And I'll be doing another Somebody Else's Blues. It's a carefully curated event. It's a conversation, 30, 40 people in a room, really digging into some, so I'll throw a flyer up, but that'll probably happen, in a month or 2. So other than that, just play around on the website, see if it's something you like.
So go follow her, y'all. Go follow her, go tune in, tap in to Rebecca Dupas. Anything else, bro?
Nah.
You ready to head out?
I think we are.
All right, y'all. So it was been an honor to have the legend with us again here at Polish Your Piece. I hope all our people out there have received some seeds from our faithful farmer here today from Sis Dr. Dupas. So y'all know how I feel. Remember that you are a work of art. So work your art to only masterpiece, y'all. See y'all next time.
We out. PYP. Pod. Number 3 on the way.
Hey.